This is a consent item.
Yeah.
Oh, it does say consent. Okay, how many more?
Chairman,
Sorry,
also-
they're not highlighted here. Okay, let's go on. If does anyone want to speak to this item? If not, we'll keep it on consent. Is there anyone online who wishes to speak to this item?
We don't have anyone online that has previously signed up, and only the representative is signed up at this time.
Okay, let's move on to the next consent item, P55.
We have proof of publication in the February 2nd, 2022 edition of the Tampa Bay Times.
This is PDD 220053. This is the adoption, I'm sorry, not the adoption, the transmittal hearing for this item. So we're asking that you authorize transmittal to the DEO and other reviewing agencies. It's a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment, CPAL 2115, Gateway Hub, large-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use element appendix to the Gateway Hub future land use classification and the future land use maps 2-9 and sub-area map 2-9. Gateway Hub subcategory, sub-area map 2-9 Gateway Hub subcategories. This went to the local planning agency on 2/17 of 22, who found it consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommended approval to the board, and it's scheduled for adoption on May 3rd of 2022 at 1:30 in Dade City.
All right, is
The
there anyone here who wishes to speak to this item?
The only person signed up, I believe, is the representative of the owner.
Okay, anyone online then? Nope. All right, we'll keep it on consent, and that is the end of the consent agenda.
Move approval of consent.
Second.
items.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, P56.
We have proof of publication of this matter in the Tampa Bay Times, February 6th, 2022.
Good afternoon, Joanne Rovita, Real Property and Planning. The Real Property team has received a petition to vacate a portion of a platted right-of-way filed by Locust Branch LLC. The petitioner has requested the vacation to allow for an additional building lot in Phase 2 of the development. There were no objections to this petition, and the team recommends approval.
This is in Commission District 2.
Public comment.
We have no one signed up for this matter at this time.
Anybody wish to speak to this item that's in the audience?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Rolling along, P57.
We have proof of publication of this matter in the Tampa Bay Times, February 2nd of 2022.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Ainsley Calder, Public Works. This is PVAS project number 3459. Thank you. Timberset Court, there's one street in this project. The estimated project cost is $53,272. Maximum cost per ERU is $4,439.34. And the discounted amount is $10,068.08. Maximum cost per ERU after discount is $3,579.50. There were 13 possible votes. 7 responded, which is 54%, and all 7 were in favor of the project. The amortization over a 10-year period at 3.25% interest rate.
Nice.
Next is a location map, and next is an example of what the road is like. Staff is recommending approve.
Okay, is there anyone here who wishes to speak about this PVAS? Anyone online that wishes to speak about the PVAS?
Not aware of anyone online.
Wow, move approval.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good job. P58.
Originally, this matter was set, or we have publication for the November 9th meeting, was continued to January 11th, which was continued to today.
All right. Who's going to speak to us about P58?
Madam Chairman, this was one that you had conducted a full and complete public hearing. Board closed public hearing and was in deliberations when, because of some issues, you decided to continue it and give the applicant and staff, the team members, a opportunity to discuss the matter. My understanding is that there were revisions to the stipulations, which I'm assuming somebody from planning is going to go over.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for.
Good afternoon, Tammy Snyder, Planning and Development Department. Here we have Plazuski and PDD 227564. Here is your location map. We have Tyndall Road directly abutting it to the north. And proposed is a rezoning request from an AR Agricultural Residential Zoning District and an AR5 Agricultural Zoning District, Agricultural Residential Zoning District to an NPUD to allow the potential development of a maximum of 200 single-family detached and attached dwelling units and associated infrastructure on approximately 40 acres. And here is their master plan. And here is the future land use. We have Res 3 and Res 1 to the west. And the site itself is Village Mixed Use Type 2B. And here we have various village concept plans. The original VOPH is up there. And you can see kind of the circular format. Evans F1 came in and pretty much kept the same format. Boger Ranch came in, pretty much kept the same format. And then when Plazuski came in, the Vision Road, the north-south Vision Road had been adjusted. And so they shifted around some of the entitlements to fall in line with the roadway. Presently, the subject site contains a residence and some outbuildings and pasture land, and the project lies within Village F of the Villages of Pasadena Hills. And due to recent BCC directives concerning all future MPUDs, conditions were added to address a mix of lot sizes, front yard trees, architectural details, and the maximum number of and maximum building size and placement of the attached products. The PHPPC heard the item at the September 29th, 2021 public hearing and voted to recommend approval with the inclusion of a condition requiring the removal of the proposed emergency-only access to Peachtree Lane once a secondary access is constructed. The applicant also added a new condition after the hearing to address the enforcement of potential on-street parking and obstruction of roadways. And the BCC heard the item at the January 11th, 2022 public hearing and voted to continue it to the March 8th, 2022 hearing, as there were outstanding questions regarding the north-south Vision roadway, which lies off-site to the east of and abutting the subject property, among a few other details to be worked out. And this is just depicting again the Vision Road alignment. The big picture there is the Plazuski MPUD. You can see that the north-south Vision Road has shifted, the south part of it has shifted to the east. And then after additional conversations regarding the location of the Vision Road, the applicant offered to set aside 35 feet of right-of-way along much of the eastern boundary of their site in the event it may be utilized for 1/2 of the required right-of-way in the future. Should the 35 feet of preserved right-of-way on the Plazuski property be utilized as such and shift the alignment of the Elam Road extension to the west, it may potentially cause intersection issues at Tyndall Road to the north. Although the PDD does not object to the additional 35 feet provided, the long-term recommendation is to keep the alignment as shown in the comprehensive plan Vision Roadmap. And the proposed request is consistent with the Pasco County LDC and the applicable provisions of the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan. And with that, the PDD recommends approval with conditions.
Okay. Board members, any questions?
Madam Chair, I just have one question. I guess prior to the applicant coming up, your last slide. One more. Where it stated the PDD, Planning and Development Department. Okay, there you go. Thank you. Although the Planning and Development Department does not object to the additional 35 being provided, the long-term recommendation is to keep the alignment shown in the comprehensive plan Vision Roadmap. I'm just curious, how did the plan, yeah, here it comes, came up with that? I know one of the things that, I listened to and I worked with the applicant on this as well, to come to some sort of compromise so that the burden wouldn't be entirely on either property owner. I thought that was sufficient and the applicant agreed as well, but you're making a different recommendation. I find that odd.
Good afternoon. Nick Charles, Pico's Planning and Development Department. The statement is that we don't object to the 35 feet. If the road needs to move over, it can move over, it has the ability to move over, but there's a plan, and the comprehensive plan is asking for the alignment for Elam Road to be as shown. And so if we can avoid moving the road over, if it's not necessary to move it over, we could maintain the alignment. Our primary concern is the intersection alignment specifically. So at the point where the road comes to the intersection, there may be the opportunity to keep that alignment according to the comprehensive plan and shift the rest of the road further south as may be needed. But also the other thing to keep in mind is that the neighboring properties, that in the event that they become MPUDs at some point in the future with their own developments, may desire to take Elam Road another way.
Well, my assumption is, I could be wrong, that if the property owner to that'd be the east, right?
Yes.
I'm looking here, that'd be to the east.
Aye.
If they do develop it and they request that that right of way be, or the road alignment, I should say, be on that property, I'm sure their current applicant would be more than fine with that, because
Right. That's why we don't
they're
object.
gaining that property back, so.
That's why we don't object. We felt that them providing the additional buffer enables a lot more flexibility for both properties to coexist with the road.
Okay, I was just curious why that statement was made in there. I don't see the need for it, but you made it, so, okay.
Commissioner.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
I've met with the applicant as well as the residents as well, but in the conversation we had, it was, I think, a good recommendation to say, if the next guy is coming in, which I don't expect to happen, as you say, put the right of way over there, but the next guy come in, he may say, you know, we want to keep it straight because we think it's going to be safer for the road, is the one thing that can go.
Right, yeah, they have the ability to do it, right?
Yeah, so for that reason, I'm comfortable with the language that I see there because I've been looking at that issue. I do have one thing for the applicant. I'm asking him a question. When I look at the roadway with the right-of-way that's there, and if we put this condition in, somewhere there's going to be a trail on one side, a sidewalk on the other side, correct?
I believe that is the cross-section, the VOPH roadway, I'm sorry, Joel to an associates for the applicant. I believe you're right, Commissioner. In VOPH, every specific roadway has a specific cross-section that's required to be constructed, including alternative vehicle network and trails.
Okay. It could be a long time before the people to the east come forward. The people that own the property now say they're not interested. When the errors come into place somewhere down the road, they may come in, and that's when other things will get looked at. So, and if you could give me the answer, and I don't expect you to give me the answer, you probably have to talk with your team, but, you know, one of the concerns we have with the small lots, the 40-foot lots, the 50-foot lots, the kids have nowhere to play. Nothing, it's tough. If we're going to look at high density on the outside part of this whole thing, one of the things that I think would be good is on that right-of-way part, if we shift over there and we say, look, we're going to go put the golf cart path on that side somewhere in there, and we fit that in there, and we tie that into the neighborhood, so until the other developments come in, now you get a sidewalk and connect for everybody in there to go back and forth all on their property until it changes. Is that something that could be looked at and thought about now? And if we don't think we do it now, is that something we can look at with staff later on?
Yeah, I think that's something that would have to be looked at down the road for the very reasons you've discussed. Right now, when our properties develop, no one really knows exactly where Elam Road will be constructed. Will they take advantage of our 35 feet? Will they not? Will the intersection align exactly and then veer? So I think the problem is you don't know what to construct until the party actually builds the roadway cross-section. The other comment I have is we're accommodating that because we're providing the full 35 feet no matter what. And even if the county never requests the right-of-way because the road isn't moved, we're still obligated on these conditions to permanently maintain that 35 feet as permanent open space maintained by our HOA. You know, we'll be providing our own internal connections up to Tyndall, and that's where our residents will get on the AV network and the trail system. So I don't know if are you asking that we actually pre-build part of that I'm not sure I understand exactly what you're asking.
And again, this idea just came up right before the meeting,
Okay.
so otherwise I would have brought it up when we talked the other
No
day.
problem.
But what I'm, again, to think, depending how this goes, if it does come out, I'll say that if the other party, the other
Builds.
parties alongside, they keep the roadway just the way it is, we don't need the right of way. At that point, if this had a trail going alongside it, internal to the development.
We
and
would
could
be
stay internal
happy.
to, it would be a benefit to everybody from the get-go and now. And if in case it takes a long time for it to develop, it's something that you're gonna wanna have in there anyway. Just your people could use it at start.
Correct.
It could be built in there, and then if it does change over, now there's a simple shift over where now it's gonna be part of the public right away. I don't
Yeah.
know how we could write that in so quickly,
Well,
but
I think since we are obligated to reserve this 35-foot right-of-way, the county at any point could request that to be donated for trail, roadway, sidewalk, anything the county wanted. So we are already obligated to provide that for any county purpose. So my thought would be, depending on how that plays out beside us, if the county, even if the road didn't shift onto us, if the county still wanted to use our 35 feet for the trail system, certainly the county has the right to request that right away, and the Blazewskis or their developer have to donate it. So we are making land available for however this plays out, and frankly, whatever purpose the county wants to put that right away to.
right, and like I say, if the road for the other situation where, let's say, it stays the way it was previously done, where it's all on the other side, this would be an amenity for your people inside, and I'm comfortable to set that up and set that in. And I'd feel better about the density, knowing that everybody inside that area will now have a trail golf cart that they can actually ride the bikes and safely and go around.
Well, we have no problem adding to that condition that where it says we have to reserve the right of way, that the county is free to use that right of way for roadway, trail, sidewalk, whatever purpose the county deems appropriate.
But
In other words, it wouldn't have to be used for roadway.
right, and like I said, for the start, until the other things develop on the other side, what I'd like to do is to improve the development inside. If it never comes out, at least the people in there will have a trail to use. And I don't want it to be in the county's burden to go build it, maintain it, or whatever, until we know it's gonna be ours. If it ever becomes ours, then we take it over.
So
But I
you
don't
want
think
us
there's a
to, you want us to build a trail when there may not even be a roadway constructed there next to us? Is that what you're asking?
Correct, and the reason for it, and here's why, and just, again, I don't know if it can be done, I don't know if it's even acceptably done, I just have the discussion. Because if the roadway stays out to the side, then this is just gonna benefit everybody inside there anyway. If the roadway ever does get advantaged of using that right away, then we'll have we'll have the street in there as well. I don't want us to take it over now if the trail gets built, because I don't want the liability for it, and I want it just to be for you guys anyway. So go ahead, Pat, you can help us out.
That's
a lot of words.
It is.
Well, we do have to construct our own neighborhood park for the kids. I mean, that's part of our requirement, and we are constructing that adjacent to the Rural Enclave buffer. So we will be providing our own recreational amenity areas, and we will be providing our own internal connections back up to Tyndall Road. I mean, have you talked to the client about whether they want to build a trail
I have, I might be able to help.
behind the houses? Okay.
Good afternoon. Pat Gasaway with Height Design, representing the applicant. I'm going to attempt to use your magic wand here that almost never works. Oh. Low-tech stuff. I believe what you might be looking for in this cross-section is the sidewalk that is, all right, I'm getting you new batteries. Along that strip, from this sidewalk that will be internal to the subdivision, to be able to go within that 35-foot buffer that may become right-of-way. So I think that's what.
But not just sidewalk, trail, so a little bit wider.
Understood.
Okay.
that would be a little odd in that cross-section.
Would be.
Because it's got already, the vehicular, the cart lanes in the road bed. So what the applicant would be willing to do is build the future sidewalk to connect this sidewalk to the sidewalk that is along the south side of Tyndall in order to provide that loop. And there wouldn't be a large multi-purpose trail in that 70-foot cross-section. So pre-building the 5-foot sidewalk for the county in the location where a future shifted road right-of-way would be, would be acceptable to the applicant.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask a question then.
I know.
If you put, so in that 35 feet of dedication, so if you could put that map back up, if what I'm looking at on this,
Oops. Oh, you're doing.
take that button away from him.
She did it too.
It wasn't his fault.
So in looking at that map, it looked like there was a sidewalk on the east side. Is that what that kind of darker gray line is going down? Behind the houses and then?
It doesn't show it, but behind those houses is a 20-foot required buffer, right? And then the 35-foot future right-of-way, which will initially be maintained by the HOA if the road isn't shifted. So behind the lot, there will be a required buffer, and then in that 35 feet is where we would be suggesting that that left-hand sidewalk be constructed to be able to connect that loop around there.
Why, so we're looking at the typical roadway section of VOPH, and I guess we're going to ask, why is there no trail? Why is there only a 5-foot sidewalk, which is, a person on a bike and a person walking, 2 people on a bike will crash into each other on a 5-foot sidewalk.
I think that
so.
goes back to the original VOPH plan, which
Yeah,
is
that's-
what the community planned. I mean,
To not be able to use a bike or a golf cart anywhere?
these were designed.
Actually, the golf cart lanes are in the road.
Oh,
So if you would put that typical section back. So if you'll see, the 2 vehicular lanes are in the center, right, on either side of the center line of the road. And on the outsides of the vehicular lane are the 6-foot golf cart lanes and then the curbs. Then you've got 10-foot tree planting zones outside that, and then 5-foot sidewalks outside that.
and what's the speed of those roads?
35 or less. So those are anticipated to be golf cart friendly vehicular and alternative vehicle roadways. That's why the sidewalks flank both sides.
I feel bad for the community. They're not getting a trail.
But those are the adopted sections, not only in VOPH, but also in Connected City.
Commissioner Oakley?
I'd like to say one thing too. After we continued the other day, because you never know how the plan looks until you put it on the ground, see where it matches up. So the plan worked. Well, this project ended up next to Norwood Acres, and I think it affected 2 lots, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
They set back 50 feet and then put the park in that area. They redesigned their development to put the park where it's right behind those Norwood Acre properties. So
Well, yeah, I mean,
good buffering they put in there where they touched those homes that have been there a long time. So.
Thank you.
didn't realize they're not getting any trails. They're just getting sidewalks. But can you go back to the Plazuski? I'm just trying to understand your layout, and I see the difference. Can you please go back to she's working on it? Yeah. Can you zoom in, or is that as close as you can get? So, okay, so I see now where you have this shaded area. That's the new donation? Is that right?
Right.
Next to the Elam Road
Right, so there's,
and then
in the blow up, you can see you've got lots, and then you've got the required buffer, and then you've got the 35 feet, and then you've got the 70 feet of right of way per the roadway that's adopted in the ordinance.
Okay, so going past that pond, as you work down, that darker line is not a sidewalk for the project, a trail or whatever, internal trail?
So in,
Because I see a line. You guys see it
yeah,
in the
the
green?
the heavy line is actually the property line.
Yeah, but I'm looking, what is that right there? That's what I want to know. If you look at the pond, at the bottom right corner, it's blue for the pond, then it's green, then it's dark, then it's green, and then it's brown. So I'm asking, is that straight line going down a trail or a sidewalk or anything? Or is that your, you don't see it?
That's the piece of the property that the applicant's given
So,
up.
so I think the green that's east of the blue, right,
It's kind of green,
is-
gray, kind of, yeah.
is a buffer.
Oh, it's a,
Right.
okay, so it's not anything that's constructed.
Right, it's
That's the buffer?
the LDC requires a
Okay.
perimeter buffer there.
Okay, so Jack, I don't know how they would build a trail or a sidewalk or anything come down there when it would stop down there by that pond because they don't own the property where,
we-
where the road would continue on. So the trail would only go,
We're
Two-thirds.
suggesting that it go from here where we will have a sidewalk to connect to.
I can't tell where you're pointing.
Oh,
That's real, we need a better
see,
system.
I know, we do. In fact,
I could see it. You can't see it?
yeah, the
Try that again.
stub
Try to
out
get
is
that.
where I'm talking, it would be the southern end of the sidewalk moving and traveling northward to Tyndall.
If I could help, Mr.
Yeah.
Starkey?
That'd be
So
awesome.
if you take on the top part with Tyndall, as you come down, you get the pond, then you get that brown, dark brown loop.
Yeah.
And then there's a roadway going across there.
Yeah?
They're talking about bringing it right across there.
Oh, just to the first road?
Yes, now, if I could,
Okay, yeah, that,
and if I could, I think that's good.
yeah, I do, I
And
think
if I
that's
just
good
had to
too.
accept that, I could go along with that. But if there's any way to even take it down to that next one down and bring it around, makes it just a little bit longer. But one section's good, two would be great.
I don't think that would help anything.
First section's what the applicant is.
Yeah,
is-
and I agree with that first
Well,
section.
because it might be good for the development anyway.
Madam Chair,
Yeah,
are you, are you going to present, are you going to talk about, Joel, are you going to talk about the buffers or anything like that? Okay. Well, listen, I'm just going to speak up for a second. Because there were certain concerns I heard from the residents last time I was here. And when I know when I met with the applicant, I'm sure the applicant met with everybody, I don't know, but I met with the applicant. And this is what they brought forward and said, we listened to you. We know these are the issues a lot of the citizens were talking about. So there was that buffer and we're not going to allow an outlet. It was only going to be an emergency exit. I said, and that was a nice, my opinion, good compromise.
Right.
We're not always going to, each side's not going to get everything they always want typically. Nice compromise. I'm good now.
yeah, I'm good too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everybody, okay, so, do we want a motion? Oh, public comment?
Or maybe you
Are
don't
you
have to.
are you gonna reopen public comment? You,
Oh, we had it
closed it
already?
before.
We don't have to?
you closed public comment.
Right.
And directed staff to work on these issues which they have brought back.
Okay.
You have the ability to open public comment if you wish to, but
We did what?
you did a full and complete public
Okay.
comment.
I didn't. Okay.
Madam Chair?
I'm not sure.
And,
Mr.
and
Marion.
I'm happy with the conversation I had, the suggestions about the right-of-way, that little extra thing right in there for that piece. So it's come a lot better than it was, talking to staff as well. They're gonna need density, and density is gonna come in this area. I
Yeah.
mean, granted, it's out further than it was anticipated, further than I like to see it at this point, but it's gotta go to make the whole thing fun all the way through. And we just made an adjustment earlier to two agenda items before it, where they had to do some changes to the accountants to make sure everything was gonna fall in line. So density's coming, it's gonna come in these corridors. This is changing a little bit, but we may see some other changes and some other ones too.
Under just, let me ask you one more question. I don't know who was, I don't know if it's to Joel or to you. One of the other issues was changing the matrix a little bit to, and maybe we fixed that earlier, to make sure that the costs of the roads are shared in a more equitable way. That was one of the concerns I had. I think we took
Yeah.
care of that.
Right, Joel, too, again, for the applicant, and either David Goldstein or I can address that, but just to confirm what I said at the prior public hearing, we are processing for the VOPH stakeholders, we are processing a financial plan update for you that would make all of these intermediate roadways, which is what Elam Road is, impact fee creditable by adding that cost to the overall budget that's spread by everyone. And what that does is that removes the inordinate burden. For example, this property to the east, should it be developed and need to build the road, then that road would become creditable, whereas now it's not. But that is in review with staff. We've gotten the document in and it's under review. So that is going to happen this year, subject to your approval, of course. That will have to come.
I think
to
we
you.
would approve that.
Hopefully. Thank you.
So I just
Madam
wanted
Chair.
everyone to remember that and the public to understand that. Yes.
For approval.
Madam Chairman, one
Uh-huh.
procedural matter before you. So I've heard several commissioners say they met with the applicant and the residents since the last public hearing. There's no ex parte forms in the record except for Commissioner Oakley.
Yeah, we have one.
So
I don't
if
know.
I can just, for purposes of the record, if I can just get each commissioner to indicate who they met with,
Yep.
residents, developer,
Well, you've
for
got
part,
mine.
for part of, for
Yeah.
purposes of the record, and for ex parte communication.
Pretty
Okay,
sure I
go
met
on.
with the
What
developer.
was in my meeting it was online.
Well, the applicant will state for the record, we had an individual meeting with each as requested at the last public hearing. Our meetings were all entirely with the full staff. We met with Mr. Pitos, Mr. Goldstein, and Ms. Snyder. So ours were joint meetings with the staff and each individual commissioner. We had 0 individual meetings and 0 contact other than the staff meetings. That's from the applicant standpoint. But that
I
was
didn't meet
with
with
all
any
5.
residents.
Yeah, I bet Goldstein, Mr. Goldstein was in mine, and I'm not sure who else was. It was probably a lot of people.
I think Joel's, if you all
Period.
agree with what Joel just said, I think that covers the
Yeah.
disclosures for the applicant.
Yeah.
But I think the Commissioner Mariano mentioned he also had meetings with the residents too. So those, if there's any meetings with residents, those forms we don't have those. You would have to verbally disclose those now.
I didn't meet with any residents.
I was staff and the applicant.
Met with a resident months ago.
Yeah,
That-
before
that's
the
fine.
last one.
That's fine.
Yeah.
They're in the record.
So I
Okay.
had,
Good.
so I had the staff meeting, which.
We don't have to
uh,
have a
this is-
paper on that.
Then I met with 2 friends of the applicant, kind of an informal meeting, but we did talk about it.
And I met with the applicant and staff.
I'm reminding my staff to make sure all ex partes get turned in.
Thank you.
Yes.
You may proceed.
Motion is.
Where are we? Did anyone?
had a motion
so-
and a second.
So, yeah, we not taking public comment. Did you have, so we're under discussion,
Just
Commissioner
for,
Mariano?
just for discussion, as staff writes up the condition for that sidewalk to go alongside it, I don't care if they make it private to themselves until that roadway opens up. So it can just be internal until later on.
So,
I have a question.
Okay, but we're not taking comment.
Madam Chairman, so
Yep.
with Commissioner Mariano, so you want the condition amended? Because we haven't, you got a motion and a second on the floor, and we haven't really talked about
Oh, adding the sidewalk?
amending the condition.
Who made the motion?
I made the motion.
Can you amend your motion to include the sidewalk?
Is the applicant good with
They
that?
agreed to it. Down to the first, nope, sorry.
You're good with it? Yes, I'll add
Applicant
that
agreed.
to my motion.
Okay. And you'll second that
So
amended
you want to
motion?
add to condition 20 where it talks about the buffer and the open space, that there'll be a sidewalk from,
Yes, sir. I think in that 35-foot right-of-way reservation area, we would agree to construct a sidewalk from Tyndall Road down to our first subdivision road connection, if that's acceptable.
Madam Chair.
I would suggest that in 21,
That'd be
that
fine.
language would
That's the right-of-way reservation section. Yes, sir. Thank
Can
you.
we do that yours under discussion, or do you need it before the motion? We're amending the motion.
I have a quick question.
What's the parliamentary?
Do you have a question on the motion, or do you have a question?
On the amendment to the
I
motion?
have a comment. I can be under discussion.
It should be under discussion.
Okay. So you have amended your motion to include
my
the
motion.
sidewalk? And
He
you have
second.
seconded? Okay, under discussion.
Okay. The comment would be, if that's supposed to be a buffer, and are we building this sidewalk before or at the same time as the road? And I thought the purpose of the buffer was to buffer the land between the landowner to the right east and have it buffered to the west.
So I think there's a buffer and then there'll be a sidewalk down to the first road. And because we don't know when the road is going to get
But
built.
now there's no buffer.
No, there's a buffer and a sidewalk. There is a,
But they're coming to the east of the sidewalk, so they're coming east of the buffer.
well, we'll have the applicants.
I'll try to answer that, and Pat will correct me, but we have, starting at the back of our lots, we first have that required 20-foot buffer that the land development code requires anyway. Then we have this additional 35-foot right-of-way reservation. My understanding is we would build this sidewalk close to the eastern edge of that 35-foot area, I assume. So I stand corrected. We would put the sidewalk outside of our 20-foot buffer, but on the western edge of that 35-foot right-of-way, in case the road does get shifted over, you don't destroy the sidewalk.
Yeah.
If the road
Okay.
doesn't
So a
get
buffer.
built, then
Okay.
there's just
Thank
a
you.
I have to have a
sidewalk, and then we still will have to maintain that area between the sidewalk and the 35 feet.
I think that's very generous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You can't, we took public comment last time, so we don't have public comment this time, sorry. We closed public comment at the last. That's what my attorney said, we closed public comment. Okay, I think we're done. What was that? All right, we're done.
Okay.
So wanted to let you know that I was in touch with Secretary Gwynn, and I'll read you the message that I received from Secretary Gwynn. Let's see, it was a voice message, so let me read it to you. He said, "Hi, it's David Gwynn. I got your text. I talked to Nicola over the turnpike," and this is reading a voice message, so I don't know if that name is right. "And she promised me that you will have an agreement to review within the next day. She guess got the final draft of it up, and they're ready to send it over to you. So hopefully your folks will get it today or at the latest tomorrow. So
Good.
we should be good to go."
Good.
Nice.
Good. There you go. Good. Anything else from Carval? Oh, Mike, you good back there?
Have we? Is Ralph here? Ralph, any good news for us yet? Really?
I think that just.
The letter's ready for you to sign.
The what?
The letter
Okay, I'll sign it.
is ready for you to sign.
Okay.
I don't know if we need it now. We can wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, wait.
What? Oh,